Okay, we are live streaming.
We ready? Nancy, we good?
We are ready.
Okay. I think we got a full house, right?
Yes, everyone's here.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to tonight's council meeting.
We're missing the city manager. There she is. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
All right. I guess I'll repeat myself again. Good evening and welcome to tonight's city council meeting. I will officially start this meeting by calling it to order. I call the special council meeting to order at 6 p.m. for the date of August 16th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Will everybody please rise and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the city clerk please read the Open Public Meeting Act?
Be advised that the City Council of the City of Englewood will conduct a special meeting on Monday, August 16th, 2021 at 6 p.m. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss and take action on the mayor's veto of ordinance number 21-08 entitled An Ordinance by the City of Englewood in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, prohibiting the operation of any class of cannabis businesses within its geographical boundaries and amending Section 250 of the City of Englewood Municipal Code. The council may also go into closed session to discuss items permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act, specifically contract negotiations, litigation matters, personnel matters, and matters within the attorney-client privilege. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and JSA 10:4-6 et seq. And Local Finance Notice 2020-21 establishing standard protocols, this meeting will be held telephonically and virtually via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to participate in this meeting may do so by calling or clicking on the link below at 6 p.m. Please see the link on our website, or by dialing 929-205-6099. The meeting ID for this meeting is 826-5415-2338, and the passcode is 875-428. Individuals calling into this number will be able to fully participate in the meeting, including providing public comment. Public comments may be submitted by 3 p.m. on the date of the meeting, either through written letter or email to meeting@cityofenglewood.org. All written comments shall be read during the public forum portion of the meeting and shall be subject to the same time limitations for public speaking. Duplicative comments shall be noted for the record and summarized. The agenda for the meeting can be found on the city's website at www.cityofenglewood.org. A separate meeting will be used for closed session. The council reserves the right to discuss and act upon such public business as may be brought up for consideration to the extent that consideration of such public business is not known at this time. Formal action will be taken. Proper notice having been given, the municipal clerk is directed to include the statement in the minutes of this meeting.
I just like to correct something. I believe I said August 16th, 2020. It should be August 16th, 2021. So will the city clerk please do the roll call?
Councilman Cohen.
Yes.
Councilman Hamer.
Here.
Councilwoman Marin.
Here.
Councilman Rosenzweig.
Here.
Council President Cobb.
Here.
Also present is Mayor Michael Wiles, City Manager Sonia Alves Riveros, and City Attorney Bill Bailey.
Yancy, I think Franz is trying to get in.
Who?
Excuse me?
Sorry?
Franz.
Bolsey.
Oh, I didn't know Franz was here.
Ready, Anthony?
Yes.
Okay. Tonight, we have one resolution for a vote, 2227081621. Resolution to override the veto of ordinance number 2108 relating to the operations of cannabis business in the city of Englewood. Yancy, will you read this? Whereas, can you read that for us,
The
please?
resolution into the record, yes.
Yeah, yes.
Whereas the City Council on July 27, 2021 adopted ordinance number 21-08 entitled An Ordinance by the City of Englewood in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, prohibiting the operation of any class of cannabis businesses within its geographical boundaries and amending Section 250 of the City of Englewood Municipal Code. And whereas on August 5th, 2021, the mayor of the City of Englewood exercised his authority pursuant to the city charter to veto said ordinance. And whereas the city charter permits the city council to override a mayoral veto by a vote of 2/3 of the full membership of the council, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Englewood, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, that it hereby overrides the mayor's veto of ordinance number 21-08, and be it further resolved that ordinance number 21-08 is hereby fully adopted and shall be in full force and effect according to law.
Mr. Bailey,
Yeah, at this
Could-
point,
could you talk about if this ordinance was not overridden, what the implications could be?
yeah, as was discussed at the public hearing for the ordinance when it was adopted back in July, pursuant to New Jersey state law, every municipality has until August 21st, 2021 to opt out of the permitting the cannabis businesses to go on. If you do not opt out, what happens then is for a period of 5 years, the growing, cultivating, manufacturing, selling, and reselling of cannabis and cannabis items shall be permitted uses in all industrial zones, and the retail selling of cannabis items to consumers shall be permitted uses in all commercial and retail zones. So if you don't opt out by the 21st, that's what will happen. If you do opt out, you can still opt back in at any time, where at that point the city can decide which of the 6 types of uses it wants to permit and where within the city. So the 6 uses are growing and cultivating cannabis, cannabis manufacturing and packaging, preparation and packaging, a wholesale license for obtaining and selling cannabis for later resale by other licensees, a distributor's license, which would allow transportation of cannabis plants in bulk from one licensed cultivator to another within the city, retail license, which would be basically selling it to consumers, and a cannabis delivery license, which would allow businesses to provide courier services to consumers for the purchase and acquisition of cannabis.
Mr. Cobb, if I may.
Not yet.
Procedurally, what you should do is a motion, a second.
That's right. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do the procedural, and then I'll open the floor up to those who want to speak. All right. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Judy?
So moved.
You second it? Wayne moved it. You second it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, discussion. Mayor Wiles?
Thank you. Council President and Council, didn't mean to kill a summer evening, and I appreciate everyone's good citizenship in being here and present. As you are aware, I exercise my authority as mayor under our charter to veto the ordinance which would ban all classes of business within the recently legalized cannabis industry in Englewood. I gave a detailed statement explaining my rationale, but from ongoing dialogue, it's clear that some people either still don't understand the process at hand or choose to misrepresent what the options are. To be clear, I do not want marijuana establishments in any of our residential neighborhoods or downtown. I'm not even advocating specifically to have retail cannabis in Englewood at all. There are 6 classes of business, as Mr. Bailey indicated. Some of these would have almost no public force or interaction with the community. We can choose to allow any combination of the 6 classes and can dictate where each would be allowed to operate. Our planning board even indicated that a zone already exists in a master plan that would ideally situate new industries such as this. It was looking for entrepreneurial industries, the master plan. And I've yet to see or hear any indication that we've properly considered any of the potential classes and opportunities to provide jobs and revenue for our city. I understand that the argument being put forth is that we opt now, we can opt back later. But the reality is that cannabis industry does not need Englewood. There are plenty of other places that allow each class of business where investors will go instead. The vast majority of investments will be allocated for minorities, women, and disabled veterans-owned businesses, and they'll all be used up. The most experienced and credible investors will go elsewhere. The processing and wholesaling ventures, which would likely bring the most jobs and have the least community presence, will already have been established in other cities and towns. There are professionals in the industry that are keeping lists of how every municipality is approaching the industry right now. They're going to want to go places and make it clear that they're open for business and willing to work with investors to facilitate the process of benefits for everyone. The ordinance makes the statement that we are not forward-thinking city which would welcome this investment, but rather a place that drags its feet, would be difficult to work with investors. Anyone who's thinking of investing is going to wait for us to, or beg to us to come here as being incredibly naive. They will simply pass us by. Englewood voted overwhelmingly in favor of legalizing this industry. 75% approval rating citywide, 72% in the first ward, 79% in the fourth ward. I've seen counter arguments that only 24% of all registered voters cast a vote in favor. By that logic, only 10% of all registered voters voted against it. But that's not also relevant because that's not how the elections work. We go based on the votes cast. Cannabis got more votes than school board candidates on the same ballot last year, and more votes within 2 wards than the sitting council members in their most recent elections. It would be best and misguided to claim that those results were not valid. And I understand, Mr. Cobb, that you were concerned that the community did not vote where it should go. The reality is that cannabis will be legal and available to Englewood residents in the very near future. Someone will be reaping the benefits in terms of jobs for residents and new revenue for the municipal budget. If we don't make our best effort to get a piece of that for Englewood residents, I feel we are failing them. When we talk about how to fund a community center, library improvements, historical and environmental preservations, or other projects, we don't get a pass from our residents. Telling them, let's wait and see, doesn't provide jobs for someone trying to support their family or a safe place to go after school for our children. The vast majority of voters approved it. We have known about this for 9 months. And in the last election, it was medicinal that was on the ballot. And this conversation has been part of the lexicon of all municipalities throughout the state rather than ours. This ordinance does not in my eyes, represent the thoughtful and genuine attempt to provide the most good for our community from a scenario that is happening regardless of our actions. We are literally kicking a can down the road, just like we have in the community center. Our children, seniors, citizens, families, and taxpayers will miss out as a result. I urge the members of the council to reconsider this ordinance and make a statement that if you're going to opt out, you'll opt in. Who cares if they're going to label something in Englewood when we're not going to smell it, see it, but we'll reap the benefits from it? That's all I want. I don't want my children to have access to buy it and use it. I've been clear about that. The city of Englewood should be willing to consider some form of developing industry in order to benefit our residents rather than a short-sighted maneuver that would likely serve to lock ourselves out of the best opportunities available in this new marketplace. And I submit this again respectfully.
Next, who else has comments? Councilman Cohen?
Yeah. You know, when I look at this, you know, I see a few things, and you know, a lot of what I hear, you know, as usual, like when I do council comments, the mayor has taken a lot of the wind out of my sails just because it's articulated just about everything you can possibly say. But to me, I look at it in a few ways. You know, I voted, you know, only against this, as I articulated in the time when we actually voted, not because I was making a public position, and I said that very clearly, but because what happened at this council was, for some irresponsible reason, this was not put on the agenda for the 9 months or 10 months, whatever it was, when we should have been deliberating this in appropriate fashion with the community, with everybody in all the different variations, and trying to figure out exactly what we should do and how we should do it and what makes sense to protect our community, what makes sense to make sure, and protecting means in a whole lot of ways. It means protecting our kids from things we don't want, and it means protecting our revenue streams to make sure we can get what we want, it runs the full gamut. And I, for the life of me, don't understand why we waited till now to do this, but being put in that box, the strategy that the council, as far as I was aware, was saying was because of the time period between it having to go to the council, to the planning board, back to the council, and getting public input in some sort of way, from when we decided to finally take this on and actually deliberate about this, we had decided that because we can opt in at any time, that we would opt out. This way we'd buy a small period of time under which we can go through whatever motions that we need to go through to have a deliberative process that would reflect and tell us what we should do based on study, based on input, based on whatever the metrics there would be, but that we would move extraordinarily quickly, understanding, as every expert that I've spoken to and everybody I've seen in the state and every piece of literature I've seen, as the mayor also said, that there's going to be a first wave of investment. Everybody's talking about the first wave. That's the language being used. And once that first wave is gone, we can decide whatever we want. It won't really make a difference. We'll have basically by default said no to everything. That's just the reality. I mean, we can argue till the cows come home, but that's the reality. If we don't get in the first wave of investment, there's nothing. Then we might as well just say that we voted no from day one. So my understanding was we were going to do this to act with extraordinary speed to make a decision. This way, if we decided yes, in part, in whole, in any of the variations possible, companies would see, that we would still be in that first wave if we wanted to, that we'd be able to be delaying a week or 2, 3, fine. But that was it. And I have, and at this point, we put together, suddenly out of nowhere, a process finally at the last meeting in putting together a committee all of a sudden. So I had said that until that committee comes back with the results that it needs to come back with and does its work, I'm not going to come up with a public position on this at all, because that would defeat the purpose of having a committee, and I want to see what a committee says. However, the language that was used at this last meeting upon starting the committee was very concerning to me. First, when we said, fine, if we're going to do a committee, let's set it up right away. And there was talk about, well, why don't we just take 2 or 3 weeks to set it up and figure out people? And then there was
the results that need to come back with and does its work.
Judy, hold on, Judy. Let him finish, and then you can speak. Okay, that's all. Give everybody the floor.
There was actually a member who said, why don't we take 2 to 3 weeks to set up a committee? Then every other member said, thank God, that no, let's set it up by Friday or by Monday. But there was an initial attempt to slow walk it in that regard. Then there was, and we can check the record and see that there was a proposal to wait 2 to 3 weeks to do that. That's just the fact. I mean, we can argue facts, but the fact is, if you go back on the video from last meeting, that is what occurred, and it caused consternation at this council. Then when we're talking about speed again, it was brought up that, well, why do we have to move this any faster than the process for the community center, which while I've been supporting a community center for since I've been on this council for a dozen years, one of these situations has a statutory deadline and one does not. So to try to pair things that have no relevance to each other just showed me time and again that there are going to be deliberative attempts to slow walk this thing. And if we're going to slow walk it, then we might as well just say no, because we're going to miss the first wave. So I'm just upset with this, with the way this has gone. I'm upset that this was not on the agenda 9 months ago, like it should have been, that this is not a conversation in committees were not set up, 9 months ago, 8 months ago, 6 months ago, like they should have been. And that we were not far beyond this process at this point, and that there is still talk about slow walking it. It's a problem. It's a problem. And, I appointed my members to the committee, and I'm waiting for the committee to move forward. But I am, I understand very strongly the mayor's frustration, in the sense of I don't know why we're sitting here 5 days before the state deadline, and we have, we're really not really anywhere. To me, I am very frustrated with the situation. I do not for the life of me understand why we're in this position on such a late date. It makes no sense. Every other town, whether they wanted or not, was dealing with this months ago. But, so I fully understand the mayor's frustration here because it's a frustration that I share. Even though, like I said, this is not about me having an opinion one way or the other. This is just about the way we have a process, the way we interact with our communities, the way we should recognize what statutory calendars are and prioritize based on the calendars that are given to us, by the state government on this. So, I'm incredibly frustrated with this.
Judy?
Where to begin? First of all, as far as our esteemed mayor is concerned, the one credit I can give him is he's been singing the same song since I joined the council. His position has been the same. He's repeated himself ad infinitum. I respect his opinion. I think he's totally wrong. As far as Michael, I didn't know you were such a good tap dancer till this last performance. We have a situation where we are given the opportunity to look at the situation right now, provide provisions for the placement of facilities, which type of facilities we want. And you're right, Michael, I'm not interested in having a cannabis a growth center next door to my house, as you've said, except if we do what you want us to do, that's a possibility. So what I'm saying is we are doing the careful, responsible thing. By the way, Michael, I know you have a very good memory, however, so do I. Our meeting was on a Tuesday. We gave ourselves until the following Monday to appoint people to our committee. I think we all did that, and we're well on the way to meeting and making decisions. The people that voted for us expected us to make decisions, not to say, well, I'm not ready, I'm not sure, I don't know. That's baloney. I have made a decision. I think the mayor is wrong. I don't want to let this horse run out of the barn and try to catch it down the road. Nobody knows at this point how much money is involved, how much money it's going to cost the town. I think there are many issues that we have to go over, and then we'll make a decision, and we will do it quickly. I think several of my fellow council people want to do that. And as I say, I hope that the votes will be there to override this ordinance. Thank you.
Ken?
Thank you, Council President. Cannabis is legal in the state of New Jersey and therefore in the city of Englewood. That's not what we're voting on tonight. Tonight, we're voting on whether to have regulations with regards to cannabis in our city. The rules regarding cannabis are complex, and the final regulations from the state haven't even come out yet. That's why the vast majority of cities in New Jersey have opted out from establishing their own zoning regarding cannabis. A few towns near us have allowed cannabis in very specific locations, very, very limited locations, with strict restrictions on it. If we don't override the veto tonight, to the best of my knowledge, Englewood would be the only municipality in the entire state of New Jersey to have no regulations regarding cannabis. The only one. The only one. We would have no control over the number of businesses, where the businesses are located, the hours they can operate, et cetera, et cetera. It would change the character of Englewood overnight and forever. Temporarily opting out while we wait the final regulations from the state and the recommendations of our cannabis committee is the only responsible act. Thank you.
Councilman Hamer?
Just want to read a quick statement. On July 27th, we passed an ordinance opting out of the cannabis business. And on 8/5, August 5th, the mayor vetoed that ordinance. The incorrect opinion that's being circulated in part is that we are attempting to reverse the statewide and citywide approval of cannabis use. That is not what happened, and it's not what is happening. Our vote was to opt out of having cannabis businesses operate within our city limits without first discussing it with residents, getting information from resources on everything we need to know, deciding on where the businesses will operate, which types of businesses we want to have in the city of Englewood, and hear from the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission. Their regulations are to come out by the end of this week. To that end, my vote to overturn is going to be yes.
Thank you, Councilman Hamer. I just like to just address a few things, and I'm going to be very brief. Each council member has the opportunity to put something on the agenda. So Councilman Cohen makes this reference about nothing being on there for 9 months. He could have took the lead and put it on the agenda. See, I don't like this when, you know, you conveniently try to excuse yourself when we all have an opportunity to be responsible here. You know, what I didn't hear is that what's the impact to this community? What I didn't hear is about policies, procedures that we would have guidance on. And as I've said the last 3 or 4 council meetings, I'm not putting profit in front of people. What we did say, we would have a discussion with the community. There's one community, many neighborhoods, and let the community weigh in on what they believe is best for the community. And we have a fiduciary responsibility. People have elected us to do the right thing. We're not going to allow businesses to come in here without any framework to operate by to just run amok. And not saying that that would happen, but what has happened here is if we don't overturn this, to what Ms. Marin has said and what Councilman Rosenzweig said, that they'll be able to put this in residential and in commercial areas. Do we want that? No. And they want to put it in the light industrial zone. That's still below the tracks in Englewood, which divides the tracks. That's the dividing line in the city of Englewood. So we have some homework to do, and that's why we opted out, because we want to do the right thing. I could care less, and no disrespects to Fort Lee or Teaneck. My concern is about Englewood. I could care less about the revenue. It's more important that the people. And I think that that's what we are here to do tonight, to do the right thing. And we said we would move forward, but we're going to move forward with a structure and a process. We're not dragging our feet. We're just trying to make very good decisions, because this impact, we don't even know what the impact will be. So I think that when people say these things, they need to understand, you know what, we don't miss what we didn't never had. We never had this revenue before, so how could we miss it? It's an opportunity. We don't know how big or small the opportunity is. But we have to make sure that we protect the residents of this town, this city, and making sure that we're making the right decisions. And we can still make these decisions. It's a competitive market. If people want to do business in Englewood, they'll come. And if they don't, that's their choice. That's their decision. But you're going to do business in a framework in Englewood that will be respectable to the residents of the city of Englewood. So with that, Yancy, can you do the roll call?
Councilman Cohen,
But just clarify, can you clarify, a yes vote means to overturn, no vote means to not, or we'll just clarify what? Hello, yes.
I'm sorry, are you looking for
Yeah,
legal?
yes vote is to overturn the veto.
Okay, so no.
Councilman Hamer,
Absolutely, yes.
Councilwoman Marin,
Yes.
Councilman Rosenzweig,
Yes.
Council President Cobb.
Yes.
So the final vote tally is 4 yes, 1 no, motion carries.
Now we'll open this meeting up to the public. State your name, your address, and you have 2 minutes to speak.
I'm just getting the timer. So just like everything else, bottom of the screen, raise your hand on the raise hand feature. Reminder to everybody, just no profanity. You will be cut off right away, no warnings. Okay. First one is Matt Ackerman. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks for giving me the chance to speak. I was hoping to be able to speak before you made the vote, but I want to note my support of Mayor Wild's veto of the ordinance, and my hope that the City Council will reconsider its vote. My name is Matt Ackerman. I live on 33 Innis Road in Tenafly. I'm the founder and CEO of Cocentra, a cannabis consulting business based in Tenafly. I have worked in the legal cannabis industry for the past 4 years, most of that time as an operations executive at a large publicly traded cannabis company based in Massachusetts. Before my recent move to Tenafly, I was a longtime Englewood resident, a city to which I maintain close ties through my wife, who was born and raised in Englewood, my father-in-law, who has been a resident for nearly 50 years, and 2 of my sisters-in-law and their families, who have also owned houses in Englewood for many years, and also through many friends who continue to live in Englewood. I have worked on the ground inside businesses large and small of all license types, from cultivation to manufacturing to retail, in legal cannabis in multiple states, including Maryland, Delaware, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Illinois, and Nevada. I've written applications for licenses of multiple types and been a part of the executive team building new cannabis businesses and managing the various regulations in multiple states. I can tell you then from experience that writing an ordinance allowing cannabis business in Englewood is no big deal. It should not take more than 1 meeting of this council to define those businesses that will be allowed and what part of town they can be allowed in. This is particularly easy in Englewood because, unlike many municipalities in New Jersey, it has a clear industrial area that can easily accommodate cultivators, manufacturers, distributors, and retailers. There also seems to be a belief, as Mayor Wild said, that Englewood can allow businesses into the market whenever it wants with no negative repercussions. I can tell you this is not the case. There's already an open retailer in Paramus, another planned in the same city, and another planned in Fort Lee. And this is before even the winners of the license applications from 2019 have been in.
2 minutes are up.
Even more towns are opting in, sending tax revenues to those towns where cannabis retailers will be creating brand names that draw cannabis consumers and their tax dollars away from Englewood for many years to come.
Next.
Next is Diane Jansen. Diane, unmute.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Diane Jansen, Ridgeland Terrace, Englewood, New Jersey. Thank you, Council, for your wise decision. As you know, last November's vote was to legalize marijuana. It was not a referendum on what and where cannabis cultivation, manufacture, wholesale distribution, retail, and delivery businesses would be located in Englewood. Council, thank you for truly recognizing and being a progressive city, which means putting people, not profits, first. It means seeing what the New Jersey state regulations on recreational cannabis are before moving forward. As Councilman Rosenzweig mentioned, this is what more than half the municipalities of New Jersey are doing. It means maintaining our suburban way of life and not allowing a free-for-all in Englewood when it comes to recreational marijuana. It means not impacting lower income neighborhoods near the industrial area. It means not having surrounding or downwind neighborhoods like mine, or people subjected to the stench or unintended medical effects of cannabis cultivation, manufacturing, and wholesale. It means not adding federally illegal businesses to the city when the federal government does not permit banks to provide banking to cannabis businesses and their employees. It means not adding businesses in the city that require increased vetting, legal fees, extra police coverage, special building, health, and public works services. It means overriding the veto of the mayor, who, as he said, does not want his family using cannabis or being affected by these businesses. The mayor does not understand why at this juncture, money from recreational cannabis does not matter. Locating cannabis cultivation, manufacturing, wholesale distribution, retail, and/or business in the city at this time does not make people sense.
Diane, thank you. Your 2 minutes are up.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Jansen.
you. Next.
Okay, next is Peter Jansen. Peter, go ahead and unmute. Still not unmuted. Peter, we still can't hear you. You're still muted. Peter?
Pete, you're muted, Pete.
Peter, you want to?
Diane, can you tell Pete he's muted still? Let him come back. Let him raise it again.
All right, I'll leave the hand raised so that.
Yep.
So next is Sarah Russell. Sarah, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, this is Sarah Russell, 205 Davison Place in Englewood. I totally support the decision that the council made tonight. I think that had we not done that decision, we would have missed a lot of the opportunity that we could write into our own regulations, including fees, extra taxes, zoning it the way we want to zone it. And so I'm glad that we're not just riding into the wind without setting our own regulations. That said, TNEC has zoned cannabis on Alfred Avenue. That couldn't be more Englewood if it was Englewood itself. Cannabis is here. It's legal, and Englewood residents voted yes because they probably use cannabis or they don't see it as such a threat. So it's going to be coming into our homes and it's going to be delivered into our homes. So even though I agree with the decision that the council made, I think that there has to be a huge sense of urgency to actually do this and do it the right way. There's a lot of people, you just heard from Matt and me too, within Englewood who can help get it done. I know you're setting up a committee. So I urge you to continue with this path of the conversation and get it done quickly and swiftly. The Cannabis Regulatory Committee is releasing their regulations 2 days ahead of schedule, showing that they're not dragging their feet on this. So licenses will be probably awarded sooner than we think. And so please, I urge you to act swiftly with the committee and with all the decisions you make. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Next is Jack Silverman. Jack, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, Jack Silverman, 320 Murray Avenue in Englewood. I had sent Sonia about a week or two ago a email asking for the Environmental Commission to have a seat at the table when you have these this meeting is to discuss the topic. Since the Environmental Commission has say on open land, now I know some of this could be big commercial property, but we do have we think we should have some input there. And anyway, I had asked for that to get an answer, but no one got back to me about that. I was wondering if this is going to be happening, if we're going to be able to participate as a commission.
Jack, when we get this thing organized, a commission and the community will be able to participate. So stay tuned and you'll be invited to participate in some form or fashion in the Environmental Commission. You'll be able to bring your views and your comments to the table.
But has the committee been formed yet for this? Is that done?
The names have been submitted already. That's
Okay,
correct.
so the Environmental Commission will not be.
No, that's not what I said. I said that the Environmental Commission will have an opportunity to address us as the Environmental Commission.
I realize that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm going to try Peter again.
Yeah, try Peter again.
Peter, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, thank you. I had to do something with my settings. I'm good now. Pete Jansen, Ridgeland Terrace. Just like to say that my councilman said that he's frustrated that there was no committee put in place to look at this. Well, if it was a priority, the committee would have been put in place and they would have had a chance to look at it. But we didn't. So we're at the end right now. We have to make a decision. Once we opt in, we cannot opt out for 5 years. So why would we opt in, not having gone through what's right for the community and what's right for the city of Englewood? Once you opt in, you're stuck for 5 years, but you can opt in at any time without any penalty. So let's read from the New York State League of Municipalities. If a municipality chooses to opt out, they do not need to wait 5 years to opt in. But if the municipality opts in or takes no action, they must wait 5 years before they can opt out. Unquote. So we did the right thing. I thank the city council for making the right decision here and taking a chance to look at what's right for the city. Thank you.
Jansen.
Thank you, Peter. No one has their hand raised right now. Do you want to give everyone one last chance?
They got a minute.
No one else?
Nobody raises their hand?
Oh, here you go. Joe Ellen.
Yes.
Go ahead and unmute yourself.
There you go.
Good evening. I
Good
just
evening.
want to congratulate the councilman for taking the position not to allow cannabis into the communities without making some firmer groundwork. It's needed here. I understand that finances are important for the community, but there's several areas within the community where finances are needed over my lifetime here in Englewood and still have not been addressed. I don't think that swiftness is needed and necessary at this time. If we're opting out at this time, we will see the results as meetings go forward with planning from the state and here also at the local level. Health and the concern of our community is most important. I thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else has their hand raised?
Okay. Nancy, we're going to close this public session of the meeting. Mr. Bailey, we don't have any other business to discuss.
No, sir.
So at this time, I'm going to have a motion and second to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Good night,
Everybody.
Frank.
Night.
Good night.
Good night, all.